Welcome to The Decision. So, black just moved king to h7. If you look at the material, black has all 8 pawns. I have 7 pawns and a knight. So I have basically knight versus pawn as a differential. So the thing that has to be done, this queen has to go. We've got to get rid of this queen. If we can get rid of the black queen, this is an easy win. So I want you to look at the position and see what you would play here. Pause the video and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Did you play b4? b4 is a crushing move. Because if he retreats his queen, queen to c6 gains entrance and it's clock cleaning time. So this is really terrible for him. Queen to b6 or queen to d8, it's queen to c6 for white. And just, attacking this pawn. He can't push it because queen takes b5. He can't guard it. He can guard it if he's on b6, queen c6, queen a7. But then the d pawn is gone. So that's the problem he has, is that he's got pawns that can't be defended. So realizing that that's retreat is doom, he plays queen to a3. And this is the thing that I saw when I played b4, was that I have queen to b3. That his queen is now trapped. It's a goner. So he could play queen to a4, but that's really not helpful. Queen to b2, a3, queen to c4. This b pawn that becomes an a pawn would be lost summarily. So he does the only thing he can do, and that's trade queens. Hope to hang on. Now, there's an interesting move that I didn't play, which is knight to c5. Let me show you knight to c5. Knight to c5 is interesting. I'm sorry, he played this move first. Black's move. Okay. And then knight to c5. This is a clever move, but it doesn't work because he doesn't have to take it. If black takes, this pawn, his king is outside of the square. So it'd be d6, d7, and d8 queen. So if he takes it, d6, he can't queen his pawn because I queen first, and then I would just take his queen. So he can't take it. He can just play king g7, and then white has to waste the move going back. You're not threatening to win this a pawn because this pawn now would queen. There's no way to stop it. So knight c5 is a super clever move that doesn't quite work. So in a game of this type, which is a 3-minute game, we want to steer away from this clever, trappy business in general. You want to play good, solid moves fast. So to me, it doesn't take a lot, because I have a higher skill level, just to recognize that knight c5 looks fantastic, but it threatens nothing actually, because he's got the sword of Damocles, a protected passed pawn on d4. This is the #1 threat. Now my king is in the square of his pawn. Knight c5 becomes a potential threat. But now he's in the square of my pawn, so knight c5 is not really that great. And actually, I guess it is probably winning. No, it's dangerous because it leaves him 2-on-1. No, we don't play it for a good reason. Don't be greedy. You're a piece ahead. Just cash in the piece. So this is what's happening here is I'm executing a technique. I'm going to reduce pawns, create an opening for the king. Don't get crazy. I got 2 versus 2 over here. He can't do anything. This knight blockades his pawns in the center. They're worthless. So I need to work on the king side, which is what we're doing. Because we have the thing he does not have. I have a Zugzwang avoiding knight can move back and forth if necessary to stop this pawn. And he doesn't have this kind of safety valve move. Pawn takes is also good. It doesn't really matter. So whatever. But he just runs out of moves. It's nothing about the guy. He just runs out of moves. Safety valve. Not really necessary, actually. I could have just played King H5. But my time is low, and I was like, So now I forced him to make the move. Goodbye. Your pawn is now dead. You can't go anywhere. He can't. Notice he cannot come through here. So I'm just in corral mode. Pawn has been corralled. You've got no shot, buddy. So it's a little less than accurate how I would normally play under time pressure of 27 seconds. So I'm still playing solid. You don't have to play the best moves in this position. I've just got to play non-losing moves because this will win itself. I'm not playing my best. I'm playing super fast reaction chess. I'm winning on my reactions. He's got no shot whatsoever. Prevents him from taking the B pawn. Also prevents him from taking the B pawn. Waka, waka, waka. Now he has no pawns. If my time somehow runs out, it happens. I can't lose. That's the rules. And that's why I'm doing this. Cleaning the pawns out. I will only win or draw this. I don't even worry about anything else. There's no stalemate threats. Just queen another pawn and cash quickly. That's the whole thing. So, with 10 seconds left on the clock. Now, if we go back to the beginning position, we won this game with b4 and queen to b3. That's how this game was won. So, right here. So this is where we win. A minute and 3 seconds, we got down to what? 10 seconds. So, played b4, tremendous move, and then queen to b3 seals the victory. The rest of it becomes a matter of technique, but you have to understand, you basically have like 3 sections here. You have the A and B file. This is one section. Now this is neutralized. You don't have to worry about it. I don't even think about these pawns. These center pawns here, another section. This is section A, section B in the center. The knight and 2 pawns and this guy completely stop these 3, so it's all on section C, which is the king side, the F, G, and H pawns. So we're gonna use our king and pawns to weaken his pawns, using the knight as a safety valve. I'm threatening to win his pawn. That was enough for him to break free of the herd. This is similar to how lions, defeat the herd, or wolves actually, not lions. Wolves defeat the herd. Is that they wait for someone to break off and then, well, goodbye Charlie. So he's gone. Nothing he could do. He can't even come through there. It's really ridiculous. So we did that. We took advantage of him breaking. The Zugzwang is what got him. Okay. So this whole concept forced the Zugzwang. He's gonna have to make a bad move, and his bad move is gonna be like king to f6 or king to h6. It doesn't matter. He didn't play those moves. If he plays king to h6, I go king to f6, I go king to h5. Vice versa, h6, I go to f5. f5 is better for me. So king to f6, king to h5. This knight guards this pawn. He cannot score. All right? So if he does this, he's going to lose. Now I could just take this pawn, but he might have a dream. So I don't need to take it. I would just go here. There's no rush. He can't hold this pawn. So playing knight takes pawn would require either time, which I don't have, so it's not a good idea. So it's either play knight takes g5 and gamble. And I don't need to gamble. I've got this one, king to h5. We're not here to gamble. This is not Las Vegas. He can't stop me. We saw that if this pawn ever moves, it's gone. The knight just goes and corrals it. And then one way or another, we're just going to take more material from this guy. Because we have the ability, for example, here, to corral this pawn like so. There's nothing he could do. Even if he was in this position and it was white's move, white can move knight to any of these four squares, and nothing has changed. This pawn cannot move, either physically by the knight blocking it, or if it moves, it gets captured. So it really doesn't matter. So like I said, when knight to h3 was played, this is to force his hand. He's got to let the king through or move the pawn. He moved the pawn as a safety valve, but that doesn't work. As you saw, I just corralled it. There's nothing he can do. Now, he's got that hideous position. There's nothing he can do. Now, technically, again, I could play king to h5. It doesn't really matter. I tell this to people all the time. In this position right here, we have two wins. We can either go after the d pawn with the king, or we can maintain the king position, go to h5, and squash him with just king versus king. And I tell people it doesn't matter which win you see and play. In this position, there's two wins. So pick one and just go with it. If it's mate in 25 or mate in 3, I really don't care. I'd like for you to see you play mate in 3, but hey, if you can see mate in 25 and do it, more power to you. Take the win that you see. Don't be greedy and try to be fancy. My dad always said, don't be fancy. Because when you get fancy, you get stupid. And when you get stupid, you lose games you shouldn't lose. We've all lost games we shouldn't lose. So what those losses taught me was don't be fancy. Play the win you see, cash, and go to the next game. That's what I did. So this has been a tremendous position and a tremendous lesson. Hopefully this helped you out. This has been The Decision.